Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Family Podcast with your two favourite brothers. My name is Sammy.
My name is Don.
And Don, we're going to be talking about the biggest whale in Las Vegas history.
Okay.
Run the intro! Today, we are going to be talking about a gentleman called Terrence Watanabe.
Okay.
Story time. Terrence Watanabe was born in 1957 in Omaha, Nebraska, to Harry Watanabe, a Japanese migrant who founded the Oriental Trading Company gift shop in 1932.
According to the company website About Us page, Harry's naming of the company reflected the geographic area and trading routes of the business.
Under his guiding hand, his company grew to 17 stores throughout the Midwest. However, after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the United States government entered the Second World War on the side of the Allies.
Members of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
As a consequence, President Franklin Roosevelt enacted a trade embargo on Japan, effectively decimating the Watanabe gift shop empire.
Harry ended up closing 16 of his businesses and began to focus solely on his store in Nebraska. The war ended, the Allies won, and by 1954, the Oriental Trading Company was a major staple supplier for carnivals.
In 1977, Harry's son Terrence became the president of the company at the age of 20. Terrence made the decision to move away from solely supplying inventory to carnival events and began supplying party goods to various outlets.
This turned the Oriental Trading Company into a money-making monster, with profits exceeding $300 million a year.
But after 20 years plus at the helm of a multi-million-dollar business, he was realizing that his life had just been about work.
American investigative reporter and Pulitzer Prize winner Alexandra Burzon, in her Wall Street Journal article, writes about some of the sacrifices Terrence made in order to create his success.
The job was all-consuming, says former associates. He traveled for long stretches of time, examining merchandise in Asia. He never married. His sister and others who know him say that they don't believe he ever had a significant romantic relationship.
In the year 2000, the year when everyone thought the millennium bug would crash the world's technological infrastructure, Terrence was selling the business he'd inherited and diligently cradled from humble beginnings to global success for an undisclosed fee. With the deal done, he resigned from his position as CEO and president. With money and time at his disposal, what would the life of Terrence Watanabe look like now that he was free?
After selling his company, Terry began to embrace his philanthropic side, Wiki Celebs documents. He donated millions of dollars to various non-profit organizations, especially those related to LGBTQ and HIV causes. However, these humanitarian efforts seemed to pale in comparison to the red-hot action that accompanied business, and Terrence began gambling at Hara Council's Bluffs in Iowa.
In Mr. Watanabe's complaint, it alleges the Hara host at the Iowa casinos encouraged Mr. Watanabe to play at the Rio and other Hara-owned casinos in Las Vegas.
In 2006, Terrence checked into the Wynn Las Vegas casino and quickly ran up $21 million of gambling losses.
This loss of money in such a short span of time promoted the owner of the casino, Steve Wynn, to call Watanabe. He deduced that he was a gambling addict and an alcoholic, and consequently banned him from the Wynn Las Vegas.
But kicking Terrence out of the Wynn just set him up for a run that would cement Terrence Watanabe in Vegas history.
After being unceremoniously booted out of the win, Terrence took his money over to Caesars. In his complaint, it says, Mr. Watanabe resided and gambled at Caesars nearly non-stop from June 2007 to December the 12th, 2007. Gambling was Mr. Watanabe's primary daily activity, spending almost all of his time on the casino floor or in his hotel room.
Court documents say he often handed bundles of 100 bills to employees at Caesars. Two of his personal handlers at the casinos testified that he handed out thousands of Tiffany's gift cards or $100 coins to bartenders, nightclub operators, security guards, and others, and even gave out free steaks.
Yum yum. A security guard by the name of George Judge Denton explained, from approximately July 2007 to December 2007, Caesars served Mr. Watanabe 2 to 3 bottles of Jewel of Russia vodka per day, every day. No Caesars employee ever limited or cut off Mr. Watanabe's drinking, despite the fact that he was almost always visibly severely intoxicated when he was being served.
A concerned companion of Mr. Watanabe, Stuart Mitchell, pulled aside his cocktail waitress and pleaded with her to water down Mr. Watanabe's drinks. The cocktail waitress refused and curtly responded, "Terry gets whatever he wants."
Watanabe paid nothing for his 3-bedroom suite at Caesars, and he was given $12,500 a month for airfare expenses. Some $500,000 in credit for the gift store was applied, along with a stream of VIP tickets to the biggest shows and concerts in Vegas.
The casino had a tiered system for high rollers: Gold, Platinum, Diamond, Diamond Plus, and Diamond Elite. But the casino created a new tier just for Mr. Watanabe called the Chairman. With all of these incentives, Terry must have been one hell of a player, right? Well, about that.
One of Mr. Watanabe's handlers, identified as Mr. Kunda, claimed he was considered a house player because slots and roulettes are house games. They had terrible odds for the player. And the way he played blackjack, he made it a house game. He made such bad decisions at the blackjack table. Back in 2009, the Daily Mail reported that he had lost $77 million in a year back in 2009.
For the same money, he could have bought almost 3,500 E2 privates in the US Army for 1 year, average price at $20,000.
Or 77,777 pounds of mid-grade Dallas marijuana. Caesars Palace and Rio derived about 5.6% of its total 2007 Las Vegas gambling revenue from Watanabe alone.
It only took 3 years and Watanabe had lost $204 million at the Rio and Caesar casinos. And even after selling his $5 million mansion, Terrence had paid back $112 million of his debt, but refused to pay $14.7 million, claiming that he was not responsible for his losses because he was intoxicated and manipulated by the casino staff, according to WikiCelebs. Caesars filed a criminal lawsuit against Watanabe in 2008 and pressed criminal charges against him for fraud and theft.
S-House Law Groups explains, Nevada law presumes you had an intent to defraud if there were insufficient funds in your bank accounts when the casino tried to redeem markers.
The two parties agreed to settle outside of court, but Watanabe's fortune was decimated, claiming in a GoFundMe video that he was broke and homeless and couldn't afford the medical expenses for treatment of his new diagnosis of prostate cancer.
So that was the life and times of Terrence Watanabe.
Terrence has been a cheeky MF, you get me? He been Rick Ross blowing money fast.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Too fast, bro.
Yeah.
Too fast. There is a sadness to the story, obviously, because, you know, at the end, when he really needed the money for a medical condition, he couldn't get it. So, the question, obviously, should casinos intercede on a patron's behalf? Let's talk about that. So, what do you think?
Yeah. Like, if you're a good businessman, losing your fortune is not great. You know, that's not what you want to do. I suppose in Watanabe's situation, he paid some of it, innit? So it's kind of like...
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a win, innit? You plied him with alcohol and, you know, he made some bad decisions and you still got a majority of your money, innit? In a number of situations you may not have. But I think it's a good due diligence check, you know, for casinos to intercede on patrons' behalf. Like, you know, at the end of the day, that person could be considered not to be of sound mind while they're drinking. So, but then I suppose it's kind of like, could get messy, innit? Do you know what I'm saying? We've all been places where you get the drunk person and it's like, you won't give me, this is ridiculous. And start throwing over tables and all the rest of it. So it's kind of like, do you really want all of that passo? Like, if you owned a casino, would you want that level of drama when you're trying to help people, innit? You kind of just be like, here, take it then. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, kind of attitude. So, yeah, it's kind of like being cruel to be kind.
Casinos are in the business of making money.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Yeah. And their particular business practice is about extracting as much money from a person as legally possible. Yeah. So, and they use loads of underhanded techniques to do this. Yeah. So it's kind of like they would. There's no. So in Vegas.
No clocks.
Yeah, no clocks. You know, they got no windows. Usually, if you go into the bowels of a casino, from what I've seen, because actually I've never been in a casino.
Okay.
I'm a good boy. Yeah.
I've been in a casino before.
Okay. Yeah.
The UK one.
Okay, so in the UK one, did they have windows?
No.
Yeah. Okay, so it's typical for them not to have windows. Yeah. And one of the things, I read an article, and it was talking about how the sounds make everybody think you're winning.
Okay, well, I don't know because I never
gambled. Like like all the arcade sounds, it sounds fun. There's loads of lights going off, and even while somebody's losing their whole mortgage, it sounds like they're having a lot of fun. Yeah. So it makes it seem as if
you shouldn't laugh, because to me that's a, you know, short situation.
Yeah, but I just think it's important. So while it's manipulative, it's not illegal.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the issue is around whether they overstep the mark legally.
But yeah, because that person, if you're talking about in terms of capacity, that person doesn't have capacity. So did you know the principles of mental capacity?
No, go to.
Or like to be able to like retain information, communicate information, weigh up information, relay that information. Do you know what I'm saying? And they're not able to do any of those things. Do you know? But and the thing about capacity is it's time specific and decision specific. So
okay, but hold on. If a person electively gets, like, for example, intoxicated.
Yeah, see, this is where we have problems, like in things like social care, because it's like that person is allowed to make an unwise decision.
See, but this is what I'm saying.
He's technically making an unwise decision. It's only at the point when he's drunk that he's not capacitous.
Right.
So then we run into issues about this, especially like with things like housing law. Okay. So like where somebody like drinks and then defecates everywhere and urinates, all that nasty stuff. You know what I'm saying? And they're not looking after their property, and you know, especially with things like housing associations, they're like, yo, get this person out, and we're like, but the person detoxed in hospital and they're fine. It's like, will you clean your property? And they're like, yeah, of course. Do you know what I'm saying? And the next time, as soon as they get home, they're like, party! You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so you know, it's crazy. So I mean, in this situation, it's exactly very, very similar. It's like he doesn't have capacity at the time, but once he regains capacity, he makes the choice to drink. Yeah. And so it's kind of like through his own admission,
he's putting himself in a
vulnerable position.
Yeah.
And you can't tell him no, because once he sobers up, you're gonna have capacity again. He's gonna do the same thing over again. So it's a hard one.
Because especially, I know that the reports before were saying that, you know, the way it sounds from the guy was that the casino was plying him with alcohol.
Even for what the waitress said, isn't it? Like,
He
gets what he wants, isn't it? Terry gets what he...
However, the way that is phrased, makes it seem like he doesn't have any choice. Like they're just pouring it down his pie hole, and he's just drinking.
Okay.
I do think it would be interesting to know if, remember when he went to the Wynn Casino and he was kicked out and the guy called him an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I wonder if that, we can't take his word for it because he's not a medical professional. However, if that's what he observed, then that, what's it called? The mental capacity thing, like I don't know innit, because I'm not a, like I don't do what you do innit? Yeah. So if somebody is an alcoholic, does the same rules apply in terms of them being like having capacity?
Well, again, this is where it draws a kind of hard and fast line, because like, for example, when you're discharged from hospital, in my sphere of the way that we work, they will ask you, do you want support for alcohol abuse? You know, from places like Rise is a good support for people who have drug and alcohol problems. And some people turn around like, no. And we can't say to them, oh, but you didn't have capacity, so you have to take it. They just say, well, now I don't want to, and we're kind of like, well, okay, we hope we don't see you in 3 months' time. Do you know what I'm saying? But so I think that even being an alcoholic is not a medical diagnosis in terms of an impairment of the mind or the brain. So it's kind of like,
because it happens acutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, you don't get diagnosed really with being an alcoholic. You do get diagnosed with excess alcohol intake
and dependency.
Because
I've seen that. I've seen alcohol dependency on medical records before.
But then, like, for example, if we say someone's diagnosed with it, what's the treatment?
They don't really have a treatment.
See, did you see what I'm saying?
The only treatment I've ever observed is if they're going through withdrawals.
Yeah.
Then they get a treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can you get withdrawal if you're not dependent on something?
No. You can't.
So that's what I'm saying. So then it is like a medical or no?
Well, the problem is that's only if the person does get that treatment. Because some people going with excess. Do you see the minefield that we're in? Yeah, like this is the minefield that we're in. There's kind of like he clearly wasn't dependent enough. Yeah. Well, we don't know, but to be detoxed in that way, it's not in the...
Or have a medical emergency.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually crazy, because they said he was kind of like drinking non-stop for like a year.
Yeah, but you know, like, people who have suffer from alcohol abuse, they build up a tolerance, innit? Yeah. So, like, the more tolerance that he's building up, like, his system.
But don't you just think it's crazy? I mean, again, not a medical guy. Yeah, but don't you think it's interesting that he was drinking that much for a year? And didn't get alcohol poisoning, didn't get cirrhosis of, well, we don't know if he's got cirrhosis of liver. But
well, that was kind of, we're not going to go into it now. Like, join the Patreon to find out.
But, we don't even have one.
But I was going to say, like, you know, my uni experience where I drank a decent amount of alcohol in a very short period of time, everyone was like, you should have, like, you should have alcohol poisoning. Do you know what I'm saying? But it didn't happen. So I'm assuming he's just, you know, calm. Like, he got that armor stomach. But
yeah, so I mean, for me, I do feel like, okay, casinos could take a moral standpoint. Yeah, so for example,
the betting shops do.
Do they?
Well, not betting shops, like online betting. Like, they have like general rules.
Yeah,
like,
they have a lot of that's true.
So I'm kind of like, well, why would it be different in person?
Yeah, I don't know, because they could take it where it's like they kick people out who seem to be like either spending more money than they should be. But then it's like, how do you test that, right? Because like, for example, Mr. Watanabe can come in, he can blow 24 million fast, and that amount of money to him in the grand scheme of things it's a large sum of money, but it's not like career ending, it's not life jeopardizing. Whereas somebody else could come in, and if they spend £1,000, that is life jeopardizing. So then how do the casinos you know recognize who's spending too much? You know, is everybody going to be means tested when they go into the... Imagine that, like, provide your bank statements so we can monitor.
Our financial team will do a quick calculation for you. But
can you imagine a credit check to go at the...
Wait, I wouldn't be surprised if that's not coming in the future. Do you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised. But my thing is, technically it's not on what he can afford, it's based on how intoxicated he is.
How do you mean?
So the issue is not necessarily that he's blowing lots of money. Loads of people go to a casino and blow lots of money. That's how they make their money.
Yeah.
The issue is that whether he actually did this knowingly or not.
Yeah, but I think when you're there for free, when you're there for like a year...
And they never charge him for his room.
No.
Nah, they should get that based on goodwill.
Because...
They should have claimed 100% of the finances based on goodwill.
Because... Yeah, but this is what casinos do to high rollers,
yeah, of course.
They make you feel like...
But you took the treatment. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of... I feel like part of this, yeah, and I'm not a liar by the way, but I think a part of this like puts you in a law-binding contract. You agree to being a high roller. Yeah. I mean, they've noticed it, but no one's confirmed it. Yeah. You're just spending money, right? Yeah. You could be spending someone else's money, whatever. But anyway, you're spending money. You've been considered to be a high roller. As part of your high roller package, you get a free room. Yeah. You can live in that room. You're basically living somewhere rent-free. Yeah. From there, that's the agreement.
Yeah, but it's because he's spending so much at the...
It doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly.
So in a way, yeah, because they said his total spend, like his total gambling thing was like in the 800 million mark, yeah?
But...
Bro, he paid for his room. They just
didn't
tell him that he... Bro...
Listen, yeah, if you go into... Wait 1 second. If you go into a club, and you buy the bottle, of the alcohol that you're drinking, you pay for your club entrance. Yeah. Did they waiver it for you? No, they never! You know what I'm saying? They don't. If you go to like, go and ask a sommelier, you go into a restaurant and you buy a bottle of wine, standard bottle of wine, you paid for your whole meal. They still don't waiver the price for you.
But don't you think it's the illusion, like I'm saying, it's the illusion that we're giving this to you for free. But actually, the longer you spend at the tables, the longer you spend, and he was a bad gambler, according to what we've read. And so it's kind of like he paid for everything, knowing that, in the thing that like, oh, I'm getting this free room. But the room's not necessarily free if you've paid over the odds. Listen to this. If you contribute, like over 5% of a company's profits, it just comes from you. Yeah, that's like an investor. Do you know what I'm saying?
Do you know what this is crazy. This is where the whole thing is mad, because it's like he actually had enough money, to be like a sitting partner of the casino. Yeah. And he chose not to do that.
Just to give it to them.
He just chose to give it to them in Tiffany's gifts.
Yeah.
And steaks. And steaks. Yeah. And pay it out to the casino. For somebody who is a very well-to-do businessman, he was ready to squander. To be fair, actually, it might be right, that the situation played out the way that it did. Because of the fact, it's kind of like he had decided that he was done with business, innit? Yeah, he no longer wanted business, so like gave up his chairman seat, and he was like, listen, I worked too damn hard, I'm ready to be a high roller. But he could have done that in so many other ways. So many other ways. Yeah, he could have employed CEOs and just said, run it for me, I'm going. Even if they tanked a decent amount of his profit, he would still have a handsome profit if he put monies in savings and obviously bonds and stuff like that.
Yeah, we don't know for sure, but definitely you would always try to go that route. Instead of like...
But he just wanted the fun. Maybe he just enjoyed the time, the way that he was being treated. And
obviously for me, I can't specify, but it does look like he was trying to get some of the enjoyment and the thrill. Because remember, before this, he started off companies that were like helping with HIV causes, LGBTQ causes and things like that. He was helping towards finance some of their movements, and for some reason that didn't seem to be enough for him. So I think if you've come from a high pressure business environment, you know, there was that quote where it was all consuming. I think gambling is very similar. You know, it's like high stakes in it, like especially if you're playing with large sums of money.
I can't lie, I've dabbled in the gambling world. It's not something that I recommend.
No,
do you know what I'm saying? But because I feel like after a while, and I can only speak for me, and this is me speaking from personal experience. You're lucky, do you know what I'm saying? You YouTubers, you get some personal experience from me. I don't usually do this. But you know, like I felt like at one point it was never about making money or losing money.
It was just a thrill.
Like I'd wake up in the morning, I'll put a bet on, and I'll be like, oh, you lost £10 or whatever. By the time I get to the train station, I'm like, oh, you made £20. All right, cool. Do you know? And like they, as you said, they have like tips and tricks. So my thing was online, innit? And I used to like playing virtual. Oh. Because I felt like with virtual, like there's no start of the season, no end of the season. Do you know what I'm saying? So like,
so you could continuously
bet whenever you want.
Right.
You know, like, and you know, you just put a bet on in the morning, shower, oh yeah, it's coming, go on the train, bet. Ooh, like right, I just made this money for lunch. Do you know what I'm saying? And then but then they finesse you in it because then you try and withdraw the funds and it tells you it's gonna take 5 days, but when you put the money in, it takes less than a couple seconds, isn't it?
That's true.
So then it's like funds withdrawing and you're like withdrawing £20 here, £20 here, £20 here, £10 here, £50 here. I could risk it. Then you cancel it. And you put it back into your account. Now it's gonna take another 5 days. You know what I'm saying? So,
you might lose it all.
Yeah, you might lose it all. Yeah. So you know, I can see how Mr. Watanabe got into his little cycle, and his is different. He's dealing with human contact. You know, when people touch you on the shoulder, oh, hi Terry. Do you know what I'm saying?
You know they slapped it on him.
And they come with their thing there. Another one. Oh, Terry. Oh, do you know what I'm saying?
My favourite big spender.
My favourite big spender. And he's like, oh, here, have a Tiffany's gift voucher. Do you know what I'm saying? So, the intensity of that
environment,
he must have been living. And he's in the free room.
And I think the free room was, and this is just my opinion, but in the free room is really like the biggest mistake because he never went home. You know, he never went home like to talk to his I think he's got a sister or something like that.
That's so true. I forgot about that, but I'm sorry going on.
And so he was just in that environment all the time and never was able to break away from it.
And I think you're right. He never had outside contact, so it seems, because we don't know, with a world that could have told him that what you're doing is actually mad. Do you know what I'm saying? So because I find it in that environment.
I find it interesting. Again, I don't know how to take it because his friend said to the waitress, but we don't know what he said to him. We don't know if he said, Terry, like, this is too, like, you're doing too much, bro. You know, and
but we also don't know that Terry just, like, for all intents and purposes, Terry was an alcoholic. Do you know what I'm saying? So we don't.
Terry, shout us for the full scoop. We want the full scoop. Who was helping you, man? So
no, it's true. But I just feel like we don't know if he was drinking from the day to the evening. Do you know what I'm saying? Until the clocks rolled back to the morning again. So how susceptible he would have been to advice?
Yeah, that's true.
Is another thing as well. Yo, Terry, man.
So look, I feel like it's not the casino's job to parent patrons in it who come. You're supposed to be over a certain age anyway.
Correct.
And so, yes, it is unfortunate that some people go in and do their thing and end up betting more than they're supposed to. But they're allowed to do that. And the company, at the end of the day, as long as they haven't done anything illegal, they're allowed to take your money that way.
Terrence Watanabe lost $200 million in 3 years, but he also lost 2 generations of success.
Under the glimmering lights, he lost something that took 20 years of his own life to build. And while he will have the rest of his life to come to peace with that, Caesars is still standing.
According to the website Macro Trends, Caesars' gross profit for 2023 was $6.6 billion. This isn't a PSA about the evils of gambling. It's a reminder that we will always be responsible for our own actions.
Terrence wrapped himself in a cocoon of opulence and forgot he wasn't a guest. He was a customer. The waitress said, Terry gets whatever he wants, but it was only true on the basis that he had the funds to foot the bill. When he didn't, he was cast out of Olympus, stripped of his chairman status, and summoned to stand before a judge like any other mortal.
Terrence danced with chance and consequences, and he lost. But he lost because he treated workers as friends and expected them to look out for him when he couldn't look out for himself.
And honestly, that's one of the saddest parts about this story. A man who seemingly sacrificed meaningful relationships to build a personal fortune ended up losing that as well.
But that, my friends, is free will.
We took off our chains, shone brighter than they ever did. We jumped around in the rain, and we were in our element. Yeah, we were throwing rollies in the river, Versace in the bin. Left it for the win. Yeah, we were throwing rollies in the river, Versace in the bin. Back when we were kings. They talk about their brands like it give them power. Here's my 50 cents when in the club. I was moving shower, I was moving ghost. Most of my dons thought I was moving sour. The beat knocks like Greg would get lost.